And now, The Good, the Bad, and the Weird presents Outbreak in Quarantine Movies.
Oh boy.
Hope everyone likes the new intro for our Spotlight series. It's gonna be a bit weird, just jumping right into it.
Yeah, I'd gotten used to our intro.
Yeah, I did too. So yeah, we're jumping on the bandwagon. We've been stuck at home, or our respective homes, for almost a month and a half now?
Yeah, a while. I won't lie, it's my introvert dream. I'm having a great time.
I'm enjoying it enough.
Yeah.
You are going for walks. I am not.
Yes.
I'm very much in a Jack Torrance.
Yeah.
Kind of all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy kind of thing. I have been watching a fair amount of Outbreak and quarantine movies, and after this, it is time for a break.
And I was the opposite way. I have been watching my list of distraction movies, as I like to call them. But after this, especially since I found a couple of ones that I hadn't seen, I will probably watch a few.
Okay. All right. So, before we kick off, I wanted to go a little bit over the definition because I had some questions. I was talking with my buddies Adam, Mark, and Min when we were playing Dead by Daylight a couple nights ago, and just kind of going over like their thoughts about viruses or pandemic movies.
Sure.
Because I got into a little bit of a gray area with trying to determine what it was, and that issue came with like movies like The Grudge or VHS Viral, where it's a it's a borderline where it's a pandemic, but it's more of like a spiritual paranormal pandemic instead of a living organism. So
sure,
what I came up with for my definition was it has to be a parasite, bacteria, or virus that has to infect multiple people, has to be contagious.
Okay.
And that was basically my definition.
Okay. I would tack onto that the virus can be from alien origins.
Yes. Well, that's the thing, is it can be an organism.
Yes.
So that's the other thing, is that aliens doesn't count because it's a parasite, but it doesn't infect more than one person. It only infects one person as a host and then kills everyone else because that's just what it does.
Yes. Whereas quite a few zombie movies and zombie video games rely heavily on the idea of a foreign outer space disease or alien coming down and that being the cause of the outbreak. However, it still functions as a virus of some kind.
Exactly. So going into this, I knew I was going to be well informed on the zombie series.
Yeah. I think we both had the zombie section pretty well down on this one.
So I did try avoiding as many zombie movies as I could.
Okay.
I went through a handful of lists of Contagion or Outbreak movies, and I thought I wasn't super well versed in this topic. Gonna flip the page. That's my entire list of pandemic/quarantine movies that I have seen that I can think of from either off the top of my head or one of those lists. 34 of which I own. 27 are zombies. I have a list here of like 60 movies.
It's an 8.5 by 11, and it has been split down the middle, and each line is full.
Yes. I have seen a lot of these kind of movies, I guess.
And I do not intentionally seek out virus movies. Like I said in the past, zombie isn't normally my jive. I'm usually a werewolf person. I had seen surprisingly a large number of them when I actually got in and looking through other people's lists.
Oh, yeah.
Which helped. But also there were some that I had forgotten that was the base plot point to. Example being Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I had completely forgot about the whole virus that kills most of the humans on Earth, thus leading to the rest of the Planet of the Apes series. And that's why people de-evolved.
See, I saw those movies popping up and I didn't really look at it just because I haven't seen the movies yet, so I didn't know much about it.
I like the Planet of the Apes series. But much to my husband and my in-laws' dismay, I'm not a big fan of the original first one. I like it. It's good. My favorite is the super apocalyptic ones, like the third one, the fourth one.
The one with Marky Mark?
Yeah. The one where we're praising and singing a terrible song to a giant Rocket, things like that.
See,
I hadn't really paid close attention to the new remakes.
Yeah.
Because they were too good. And so that's where this information was from the remakes, and so I rewatched those, of course. And then things that I had kind of forgotten, like World War Z.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I came up on that. I'm like, oh yeah, they did make that a movie.
Or Dawn of the Dead, both of them.
Yeah, or I had watched it a while ago called a movie called Shivers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where it's a parasite that makes everyone super randy and stuck in an apartment complex, very much like something Corbusier would create. And
then of course there's the ones that I know a lot of people have or were talking about a couple weeks ago, the movies inspired by the book series I Am Legend. So that includes Last Man on Earth, Omega Man, and then of course I Am Legend. Which
if you haven't seen, The Last Man on Earth is
it's
fantastic.
Yeah.
Vincent Price is just the most humdrum, I'm done with this shit, but it's my duty to keep going.
And honestly, I think that's my favorite spinoff of the book series. Don't get me wrong, I Am Legend, Will Smith, fantastic, very good. Not super applicable to our current situation, which is good. I like it that way.
Oh yeah.
But it's, I don't know, I Am Legend always came off as too much of a hard-leaning horror movie to me, whereas Last Man on Earth always was just kind of suspenseful and upsetting.
Yeah.
Which
there was
kind of nice.
There was a level of intelligence to that one, that there was a little more sophistication, I would say, than I Am Legend.
And especially, like, on the surface. I think I Am Legend, all of its intelligence lay a layer under the pretty screen and cool monster effects.
And shit ending.
Yeah, and so I think if you wanted to make an argument for it, you have to dig a little harder, which, I don't know, sometimes I don't have time for that.
Yeah, and I finally got around to watching Outbreak because Sean has been telling me to watch it for a bit now, and a couple other people at work. And as a 90s like Outbreak movie, it's not bad. Like, it's slightly more relevant today, but it's still kind of a bit odd because it's only one town that gets infected, blah blah blah.
Sure.
But I did also learn that the Outbreak films are kind of a subgenre, or disaster movies in general.
I'm well familiar with the disaster genre.
Are a subgenre of the action series, and that movie very much fell under it. I actually got to talk to my ent of a friend, Micah, who I have to explain what an ent is every time I call him it.
Yes. The tree people ent.
Yes, the tree people ent. So I got to talk to him about it a little bit, because he actually has seen that movie. He's not too much of into movies and stuff. But he designs facilities like that.
Sure.
I think he said the most they go is to like level 2, but in the movie they go through like the 4 stages.
Oh yeah.
And the reason I even asked him about this was because at one point in the movie, at the very, like 10 minutes into the movie, they're going through like the facility, and they're just like going through like door after door after door, like real quick. I get movie time wise, you gotta
speed
go
this process up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just telling me like how insane like level 4 clear like contamination is kept under lockdown. Like, it is.
You're not busting through doors?
No. So yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I got to go see some other movies that came up on my list, like Cargo, which I was actually pleasantly surprised with.
Okay.
Because I went into it not knowing what it was, not realizing it's a zombie movie, but it's kind of a different zombie movie. And I don't know, it was just a different one. I can go into it a little bit later too. But while I was looking through these lists, there was a Vulture.com article by Jordan Krushola and Bill Iberi, where they broke it down into a pretty good breakdown of like the subgenres.
Okay.
Classic contagion films.
Yeah.
Zombies.
Yep.
Post-apocalyptic.
Oh, yep.
Life after infection. Period plagues.
Okay, yeah.
Which I got one in there for that. Alien.
Sure. Okay, yeah. I see how that one's different.
And comedies.
Yeah, okay. I feel like that does cover it pretty nicely.
No, I felt it was good too, and I would kind of break it up into two larger genres or two larger subcategories, and it's quarantine / outbreak. I'd say, because there is quite a bit of a difference. Because
there is.
I watched last night. I watched Night Eats the World, and it had a very 28 Days Later vibe. Yeah. But instead of venturing out, it was a guy who was staying in this apartment complex in Paris.
Oh, okay.
Through the whole movie, and it was like it was. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't 28 Days Later level of like groundbreaking change. Which, yeah, I mean,
of course,
28 Days Later, I don't care if you think it's a zombie movie or if it's just an infection movie.
Heck, both 28 movies. Because there's the days and then, like, weeks or years.
Yeah,
or
weeks.
That.
Yeah, because, it's 28 weeks later where they come back after they think everything's cleared out.
Yeah.
Which I would like to go back and rewatch that now, because I remember I watched it and I just didn't care for it at all.
Yeah.
But then again, it was just, I had come off of watching 28 Days Later, which...
it was a different vibe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The other thing that I have been noticing with our current situation and then also these movies is there's kind of two camps of people watching these movies. Mm-hmm. There's people who are the morbid curiosity people, and I think they would have watched these films beforehand anyway, regardless.
This just gave me an excuse to watch them.
And then there are those who potentially wrangled into watching them because they are stuck at home with people who want to watch them. And so when I was looking into these, I was trying to keep both fields of people in mind, because while I don't necessarily seek these movies out, I don't dislike them. I loved World War Z, and now that I know it exists, I totally plan to watch Seventh Seal after we get done with this, which was a 1957 movie.
Yes, Ingmar Bergman. That big collection I have out in my living room, it's from that collection.
Yeah.
He's, it's fantastic. It's not super focused on the plague itself.
No, but it's fair.
It's still a beautiful and fantastic film.
And honestly, I was kind of surprised I hadn't heard of it before, because
I've mentioned it quite a few times.
I know you have, but just kind of in general movie circles, it feels very much like one of those movies that once you get on the topic of Outbreak films, it kind of manages to stand out as a bit of a pillar historically, and yet I honestly, other than you, don't know very many people who have seen it.
Yeah.
So I do want to see it. I recognize some of the imagery from it, and the concept sounds cool. You know, the Black Plague, Knight doing a chess battle against Death himself for his soul. That sounds badass. Well, but until now, I don't think I've ever seen it on any natural disaster or outbreak list.
No, and I didn't even think of it as that, because when I watched it, I saw it more of like an existential, religious film, which, I mean, it very much is so, but it also carries that overtone of they're running from the plague.
Yeah.
Speaking of older movies as well, I liked, The Mask of Red Death, this one specifically with Vincent Price.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and as we talked previously, I rewatched Carriers.
I mean, I think a lot of people recently have been rewatching some of these, because what is it? Is it Contagion that's currently #1 on Netflix?
I think it dropped off. The first week all this stuff happened,
I should rephrase. Obviously, Tiger King is #1 on Netflix.
I refuse to watch this.
It's not your cup of tea at all. It is Brian's cup of tea.
I know it's your husband's cup of tea. I am not looking forward to him coming back and talking about it.
He's gotten it out of his system. My mom has been forced to watch multiple episodes.
Okay.
My mother does not care for it, I don't think, but she needs to know what happens. Thus, they have something to talk about.
Yeah.
So I think he's gotten it out of his system.
Okay. So I've got a couple movies that I kind of want to bring up. In my research, I learned our man, Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
Was in Season of the Witch.
Yes.
Like, I knew he was in Season of the Witch, but it's another one you forget that
you do. I think there's a lot of Contagion Outbreak movies that you forget the root of why the problem is happening is some random, unspecified contagion.
Yeah.
Or virus.
Well, same thing with like another movie Nicolas Cage stars in. Color Out of Space.
Yeah.
I was sitting there and I was thinking about like the alien genre because that's arguably one of the less pursued genres, I would say.
Okay.
But it was like I was just thinking about like does it actually qualify or not? Because I mean it's one entity infecting an entire family.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, it's not like it's a bacteria or multiple organisms transferring from one person to the next.
Yeah.
It's just one thing infecting an entire area and then leaving all at once.
I think as long as it's not specified what the thing is, yeah, I think a lot of people have been categorizing it. I think the hard line has been like, is it a ghost? Okay, not a virus, not a Contagion movie. Because there's quite a lot of ghost movies that have a similar line of thought.
Exactly.
Especially for isolation style films where you're potentially locked in the house with someone who either goes crazy or is possessed.
Or, I mean, like, Ju-on, One Missed Call, Ringu.
Yep.
All those ones are that's why I had to ask people. It has that, it's the same concept, but it's not pandemic. It's spiritual and paranormal.
Yeah. And then the other part of this is I couldn't find any stats over it because of course I couldn't. But we've seen such a huge wave in interest in these movies. And granted, a lot of these movies that I was seeing over and over again, they're big name movies anyway, like I Am Legend as example, or the entire Resident Evil series. People watch those anyway.
Yeah.
But people are watching them more now because they have a connection for them. There's that curiosity, there's that itch you need to scratch sort of situation. We have disaster movies that are based off of real disasters. Does no one watch I'm very interested to know, like, during tornado season, does Twister become more popular?
I don't think so.
I mean, neither, but also, like, you're closer to him. You're getting close to being a Midwestern. You're close to getting your badge.
I've been here long enough where
Have you sat in your garage and watched a tornado come to you?
No.
Okay.
No, I have not, because I am not an idiot.
See, that's a sign for Midwestern.
I'm sorry, people of the Midwest. That is the most baffling thing that I have seen you guys do. Like, I get, like, the storm chasers, the ones who are actually studying it and trying to understand how and predict weather patterns. That makes more sense. Sure. But it's those people who just get in their cars and go chasing them.
Oh, no, okay. There's also a line, though, in the Midwest. So, and I think this also, you could apply this same logic to all of the disaster movies, different scenarios, because this is a fun topic we have, too, with zombie apocalypse, is like how we would all handle it differently. So in the natural disaster world in the Midwest, there is two very different train of thoughts. There is the your thought, which is don't be an idiot, get inside, maybe, but also don't be paranoid, you're okay.
Yeah.
And then there's the, well, I'm not outside, I'm in my garage with the door open, and it's not here yet, I've just got a beer and I'm not allowed to take it inside.
Well, I think...
And then there's the Twister people who are out in their cars looking for it. Those people are crazy.
Yeah.
They're on a different level.
Well, I think for me, the thing that I found, I stumbled upon an image online, like, in the early days when I was online. I think I was in high school at the time.
Ah, yes. Back when the internet was fresh, young, in the Wild West.
Yes. But I had lived in Nebraska for 3 years at that point, and then I moved to Italy. And I found an image of a guy who had a fence, like a plank of a fence, flown through his face from a tornado. Oh,
have you seen the image of the piece of straw that went through a 2x4?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, that sort of stuff fascinates us, and I don't know why we look for the tornado. We know we're not going to see anything.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is a similar mindset to a lot of people have. However, this is now on a global scale, and it's not just Tornado Alley.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually saw one that's a little more close to home recently. I watched, I think it was a 2016 film. It's a South Korean film called The Flu.
Oh, yeah. I saw that one pop up on my list a couple times, too.
I would give it a watch. There's a couple parts where it kind of lulls.
I mean,
that happens with any movie, or
most
movies in general.
The obvious exception is Monty Python. Never lulls, always steady.
Oh, yeah. And so, in that one, there's a district just a little bit south of Seoul that has a breakout of a mutated bird flu.
Okay.
That's brought in from a illegal immigrant.
And a couple years back, that was pretty relevant. I remember when that scare happened.
And they completely shut down the entire city in that movie. Unfortunately, I didn't get to reach out to a couple of my friends over there to see how accurate some of their measures are. Because there was one scene where they're in a shopping mall and someone has the infection in the grocery store in the mall, and they drop these giant
the shutters.
Yeah, the shutters, trapping everyone inside the mall or in the grocery store, and it's like I don't
know about that one.
Yeah, exactly. No, at least
not. Not in that part of the world, maybe.
From a movie standpoint, I know how I understand why that goes.
You have to have some suspense and drama and tragedy.
Then again, I don't know about that stuff. Like when I was talking to Micah about in the level 2 lab in Outbreak, a chick takes off her mask as she opens the door and leaves. And I asked him about that, and he's like, yeah, that's fine in section 2. Section 3 is when you start going through multiple rooms of barriers, because 3 is the heavily contagious. There's a cure for it, but it's not super.
You don't want to get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas level 4 is you're gonna die.
Yeah,
if you get this.
You're done.
Yeah, level 2. What did he say? I think it's AIDS is one of them.
Okay, so you don't want it.
Exactly. But... I don't think malaria. I don't know. I don't know all the classifications. I just know there is a classification.
And honestly, if someone put me on the spot to name diseases, I'm not very good at it. It's common cold, flu, black plague.
Oh yeah. No.
I don't have a whole wide range, which I think is part of people's curiosities with this movie is with the normal natural disaster movies, especially if you live in that area, this is something that happens regularly. We don't normally see something like this. And so for a lot of us, this is a way to maybe not, I don't think educate's the right word, but to build up a tolerance too.
Yeah.
So you don't have to spend your entire life watching your uncle stand in the garage and look at tornadoes. You can just binge watch a whole bunch of movies of people's uncles standing in garages watching movies.
I think it's going to really change how a lot of stuff's done.
I do too.
Because, oh boy, I've always been a clean person. I always wash my hands after the bathroom and all that stuff. There are so many people who I have seen not wash their hands in our office alone. And it's that is disgusting. I will not touch the door after you.
Yep. Note to self, do not borrow that person's pen. But at the same time, I know there's a lot of little habits that a lot of us didn't realize we had that now, and obviously these movies hopefully turn it into something that's not realistic and is a much bigger deal, but I knew I was a face toucher. Yes. I've always known that, but I think other people around me didn't realize how much they were face touchers too. And now that you think about it all the time, yeah, it's hard because you're thinking about it, but at the same time, it'll be interesting to see if this does help break some bad habits like nail picking or hand chewing, that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, I'm a face toucher too. I've still been dealing with it, but with my beard, I like stroking it.
Yep, yeah.
And that's been a huge thing of trying to avoid doing that. And side note, the more I stay home, the more homeless I begin to look.
No, it's hipster.
Yes.
As one of my coworkers this morning described it, you look hipster.
I've had that said many times.
As long as we all are slowly looking hipster together, it's okay.
No, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna shave, but
at some
point.
At least you can. Those of us with the short haircut, I've had to invest in bobby pins, something I've never had in years. It's pulled back. I have hats.
The top of my hair is down to my mouth now.
Yeah.
I'll still have another probably month or so until I can get in for a haircut. So,
yeah.
I can probably braid the top of my hair.
You should. That'd be Viking badass.
Someone would have to show me.
I have weird layers in my hair, and so I am just slowly turning into a 18th century monk. It's fine.
Or 18th century warrior.
I mean, if I could get some cool braids or beads in here, I think it'd look better. But
well, there's a couple. We derailed there.
Yeah.
There's a couple movies I kind of want to bring up that's come out in, not necessarily come out in a couple years, but I stumbled upon that I found interesting.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's an older film, The Andromeda Strain.
Yeah, okay. I remember some of this movie, but not all of this movie, which means it was on TV at some point, and I watched it and then stopped paying attention.
It's a bit of a slog, I'll say.
And that would make sense.
It's, the first 40-some minutes of the movie are like, oh, there's a virus. Well, now we have to go through all the protocols. We have to go through everything. Mm-hmm. Like, they explain everything they're doing to remain uncontaminated. And
which,
it's just like...
is boring, but I also like it when movies set up really hard rules for themselves.
Exactly.
Because then you have to be more creative with how you break them.
I got a call from my family partway through watching it, and I was telling them about it, and I said, it's interesting, but it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
And they were making fun of me, like, oh, who watches who thinks a boring movie is interesting? I'm like, this movie, because they're setting all this groundwork. I mean, it doesn't lead up to a whole lot, but the whole concept behind it's cool too, is that it's a non-carbon based bacteria that's infecting us.
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting movie.
Well, and something that I'm going to be very interested to see is there's definitely been a rise, like what you've found, with movies that you missed or you didn't realize you had seen or had forgotten you've seen, that people are re-interested in. When all of this is over, I'm kind of hoping that the interest is there long enough that we could get a good, granted, probably boring documentary, but at least one that is informative and well put together enough that, you know, when this interest does hit, people have something a little bit more science-based to watch. Because I think if there was a documentary like that right now, I think people would watch it.
Well, there is one, I think it's called Pandemic Preventing an Outbreak.
Yes, and I know a lot of people have seen. I haven't gotten around to it. Again, I have been fighting for the TV against Tiger King, and Tiger King is winning. At least in our house.
I live with cats. The cats don't get to say shit. But yeah, I mean, I've told multiple people this too, that I think that there is going to be a surgence of these kind of movies again. Yeah. And there's going to be so much garbage to sludge through.
It will definitely be like Shark Week, when Shark Week was a new thing. There's going to be a tidal wave of really, really bad ones.
And then there'll be like one or two gems in there.
And as much as I enjoy wading through the bad ones to find a good movie, I'm hoping that we don't get tidal waved with so many bad ones at first that it does put people off of the ones that would actually be helpful or entertaining. Yeah,
like one that OG Philip recommended to me was The Girl with All the Gifts. Which I watched like 2 years ago, but it was something so different. It was very much like The Last of Us, but it was unique and special in itself. And then one that people kind of forget about, Children of Men.
Yeah. Oh, that one does get looked over a lot.
Yeah. It's just a fantastic movie in general. And then there was like one I watched a while ago called The Painted Veil.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with Edward Norton, where he goes to China to help cure an epidemic that's going on. And then you find like all these like weird little ones like Pontypool, and goes a little bit more on the bizarre side, Stacy.
Yeah, okay, I see why you put it down.
Stacy is, for those who don't know, Stacy is a weird Japanese zombie movie about, it only affects women and only on when they're about to turn 16. It is unlike a lot of the Japanese films that we've talked about, which are real, a little bit more extreme.
This one's a little bit farther on that extreme scale. Not for everyone, but if you enjoy weird fucking stuff, it's a fun watch.
Yes.
It's funny. If you are mesmerized by really bad Japanese commercials, this is in that vein. It has similar soul vibes.
Yeah, it does. And I mean,
it's a whole movie. It has plot and it does make more sense. But it has the similar level of, like, the fuck am I watching?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's one of those ones where, like, I should feel uncomfortable with this, but I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not a good one to watch, like, with your mom.
Yeah.
But
it has some parts of it have very much a Lolita vibe to it. Yeah. There's some Lolita vibes there.
And should specify the terrible movie Lolita, not the beautiful
novel.
No. The beautiful subculture of fashion Lolita, which is based off of Renaissance. That's different.
Okay. I have seen Stanley Kubrick's Lolita. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I went into it knowing that Kubrick was forced to, like, make compromises because otherwise the movie wouldn't have been made. And he said if he knew he would have to make those compromises, he would have never made the movie.
Yes. I have recently found fun in the fashion Lolita.
Mm-hmm.
Please note that the two things are incorrectly completely separate. Oh. The only reason that they are the same is because the story is that someone who originally started the fashion heard the word Lolita when the movie was being popular in America, thought the word was pretty, used it, had never seen the movie, did not know, and now it's a problem. But yes, I see why you would tie that one in. Yeah. Yeah.
And another little movie that goes back to Asia a little bit, South Korea specifically, took this kind of movie like zombie movies by storm. Train to Busan.
Yeah, I was honestly surprised that Train to Busan wasn't on more people's online lists of movies, because that movie's great.
Oh yeah.
And also though, it definitely is in the isolation contagion world, but it's also far enough away from most people's reality that it's kind of that I Am Legend fantasy far offness where it's a nice dip in the contagion pool without making you feel like that could be me today.
Now, well, and I think part of that, especially for US watchers, is we don't take a lot of public transportation.
No.
And this whole movie is based around being on a train.
Yeah, and specifically we don't take a lot of trains. America's train system is, as they say, shit. Yeah,
there's a lot to that. I don't want to go into it.
But because of that, it does have it does make it a really fun watch because of its location.
Yeah. I joked around to OG Philip when we found out that they were making an American adaptation.
Yeah.
Which
is it going to be on a Greyhound bus?
No, I don't know how it's going to be done or if it's even in production anymore. But I joke that it should take place in San Francisco on the trolleys. And it's just like armored up trolley cars.
No, and you know what? Well, I guess the closest thing America has to Train of Busan would be like the speed walking sections in like the Dallas airport, where the hallway with the speed walking sidewalk. That's as close to like that type of public transportation.
No, I mean we have Chicago and New York. I mean those are probably the closest we have.
Yeah, New York is. But at this point, New York needs a break. It's either New York or California falling off the face of the earth every single one of these movies.
Oh yeah.
And let's be real, Chicago, is it a nice tram system? Yeah, it does get you places much better than the one here. You know, the non-existent one.
The like 2 bus stops we have.
We have buses?
I swear I've seen like 1 or 2 bus stops, but no one's ever at them.
I have yet to see a bus. I think we have exactly 1 taxi. Or we did. And yeah, so I don't know, maybe Chicago. I could see the loop being part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of trains, I watched another Outbreak movie that took place on a train. The Cassandra Crossing. Oh. This one also involved a government cover-up.
Yeah, which is another fun play.
Starring a real-life killer himself, O.J. Simpson.
Oh, there he goes.
Yes. I just recently got to last podcast's, we're re-listening to their covering of the O.J. Simpson trials.
It is a very, and I would say that if Outbreak films aren't your thing, old podcasts get me through the day too.
Yeah.
But I guess to wrap this up, if you had to pick a couple of films to watch while stuck at home, which ones would you pick? Which ones would you recommend higher on your list?
That is a tough one. Side note, other Nicolas Cage movie on my list, Mom and Dad. That one is fun but lacking. God. Oh, this is actually a really tough one for me. Just because I do have a large backlog, and there are some really, really good ones on this.
Oh, sure.
I would probably say 12 Monkeys is one of the top ones.
Oh, yeah.
That's definitely a life after, which it's got a weird sci-fi little twist too.
And honestly, 12 Monkeys I would recommend even if we weren't all stuck at home.
So I would go 12 Monkeys, 28 Days Later, the original Night of the Living Dead.
Of course.
If you're looking for something a little fun, but you've seen Shaun of the Dead too many times, if you can find it, a little odd film called Tokyo Zombie is pretty fun.
It is, and if you can't find that one, something that has similar vibe, different time period and setting, also a little bit harder to get a hold of, is We Sell the Dead.
Yes, that one's good too. But no, isn't that one about Burke and Hare?
It's more about grave robbing and zombies. The zombie part is like medieval zombies, so like kind of bacteria because they didn't understand bacteria back in the day, but also like I think more zombie. But it's got Hellboy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the one about Burke and Hare. So I do have a couple more that I want to recommend because I have a hard time narrowing this down.
Of course.
Train to Busan, of course.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Contracted. It's a weird little take on the zombie genre. The Girl with All the Gifts. Children of Men.
Definitely.
And this one's a fun one. Dead Alive.
Dead Alive. Why do I know that name?
It is Peter Jackson. It's one of his early films. It's about a guy who brings like this contaminated monkey to a zoo, and it bites this guy's mom.
I forgot this movie existed.
The ending is so gory, so fun, so stupidly awesome.
This is one of those tomato sauce level bloody gory.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot I had seen this movie. Good recommendation. I will probably rewatch this sometime.
It's fun.
It is fun.
So, what about you? What movies would you recommend?
Well, okay. So I knew you would be
Contagion movies. I want your I have a question for you after this about.
So I have thought about this. So as far as Contagion movies, all the ones you mentioned I do like. They are a lot of fun. I have really been enjoying rewatching the Resident Evil series, mostly because I had missed some of them / forgotten which film was what. And so I've been rewatching those. Last Man on Earth for sure. I do plan on watching Seventh Seal. Haven't seen it yet, but I mean, at this point, everyone claims it's a classic. They can't possibly be wrong.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. And then a 2010 movie called Black Death I've really enjoyed.
Okay. Yeah. So I need to break away from this genre for a little bit.
And I think a lot of people and a lot of people's spouses need a break from this genre too.
So I was going to ask you, I see on your notes.
Yes, I come prepared. So there's kind of two genres of movies that I like to pull up when I need to be fully distracted, not just while I'm watching the movie. And those two types of movies are movies with gigantic worlds that I can get lost into, and then movies with awesome music that I will continue to sing and have stuck in my head.
Okay.
Usually the singing eventually will get annoying, thus you watch the next one and have that one stuck in your head.
Fun.
So, examples of movies with giant worlds. Yes, I know you've probably seen all of these before, but now's a great time to rewatch them. Things like Mad Max. Yeah, I would start with the old TV series, actually. Does it have anything to do with the movies? Not really, but you've got the time.
Yeah.
The Star Wars universe, especially now that there's all the new ones out. I'm not a big fan of the new ones, but I have been trying to watch and get caught up on some of those.
Okay.
My favorite one to get sucked into is obviously the Harry Potter series. Getting a chance to rewatch all of them, especially back to back, it is something I don't usually have time for, and so that, and then the Lord of the Rings / Hobbit series is another one that I don't usually have time to watch all of it. Usually I have time to watch 30 minutes of those movies.
Yeah.
Now that I have time to have them in the background while I do other things in my house, it has been really nice to then sit there and brain think about how big the worlds are and all of the side characters that you don't get to see the rest of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, movies that have the music that gets stuck in your head, this is the genre that my husband and I are currently on.
Okay.
We've recently watched Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. If you haven't seen it, I'm sorry. It's not meant to be a good movie, but boy howdy is the music fun. Same thing with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It's an older movie. It's one that I recommend all kids watch. It's older though, so a lot of people missed it. It's adorable, and the song's so cute. It will make no sense to you. Let it happen.
Yeah.
You have the time to watch Sound of Music now.
And on that note, Gone with the Wind as well.
Same thing with Gone with the Wind. If you are an adult looking for more adulty ones, I do recommend Chicago. That one's music definitely gets stuck in your head, and it does give you stuff to think about that's not contagion-based, like prison. Fun. But also, if you're an adult, try rewatching Lion King. I know you haven't seen it in a while, because again, if you don't have kids, why would you? The music in it's really good, the animation's beautiful, and honestly, it does have stuff for you as an adult to sit there and nitpick apart. If it bothers you enough, watch the sequel and the 1.5 one, because obviously the animators were bothered by it too. Yeah. They addressed it.
Okay.
And then of course, the original Mary Poppins. It's one of those ones that you can't not feel better if you watch Mary Poppins. Yeah.
Well, there's some of those that I can't recommend because I have not seen them.
Understandably.
Specifically, all the ones you just mentioned, the only ones I've seen is Sound of Music and Lion King.
If you want to watch Joseph, we'll stream it with you. Brian's entire family was in their high school production of Joseph. That means his mom was in it, his dad directed it, his brother was the Prince of Egypt / Elvis. Okay. Because that's the same character in this musical. Huh. And then Brian was also in it. I don't remember what role Brian had. But, yeah, that one, fun. Don't expect a lot.
Interesting. See, for me to get my mind off of stuff, I generally go towards, like, horror movies and stuff.
No, and I think we're a good representation of the two different genres.
Yeah, and for me, especially in this time, I've actually been playing a lot more video games than I have recently. Like, I've been playing Animal Crossing, I've been playing Dead by Daylight with friends, which is a horror game.
And let's be real, who's not playing Animal Crossing except for our friend Erica, who I'm waiting patiently for her to buy it.
Well, on top of that is, part of the reason I didn't get through more Outbreak movies is Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
Where you play as an eco-terrorist on a dying world.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of people play that as well.
Oh, it's amazing so far. I'm only like 4 or 5 hours in and I'm loving it. But movie-wise, probably the only one I can think of off the top of my head that I think is still on Netflix is, it has some depressing moments in it, but it's overall a rather happy movie. Mm-hmm. In Your Corner of the World.
Oh, yeah.
Not quarantine, but still somewhat history-based.
Oh, yeah.
Animated, but yeah, I mean, I haven't really been on streaming stuff in a while. When I am, it's for
a specific movie
or horror movies. Like, I'm actually moving on to, I've had a Netflix DVD for like 3 weeks now of weird cinema, and I'm gonna finish The Terror of Tiny Town. It's this weird little western that's entirely cast by little people.
Okay, why not?
Yeah, it's
honestly, at this point in time, the real question to what you should be watching isn't what, but why not? There's no right answer for this, and if you live in a house with more than one people, remember that what makes you happy doesn't always necessarily make everyone else happy. Share the screen.
Exactly. I agree with that.
Yep.
So, anywho, this has been the Good, the Bad, and the Weird Spotlights.
Thanks for listening.
Peace.